This might sound like the beginning of a religious text, but in fact, it is the beginning of modern molecular biology. Because life on Earth began billions of years ago when the first molecule containing the genetic code appeared in a primeval ocean. But what exactly is this code? We know that every creature on Earth is made of cells. Cells are the smallest units of life, and they contain a lot of different molecules. So the question is, where in the cell is this code located, and what is it made of? The Austrian monk and scientist Gregor Mendel studied the patterns of inheritance of traits in pea plants. And in doing so, he laid the foundation for the science of genetics. His experiments showed that hereditary characteristics are transmitted from parents to offspring, according to certain laws. And although his experiments were simple, his logic was ingenious. In order to explain how genetic traits are inherited, Mendel introduced the concept of invisible hereditary factors. These factors, now called genes, are responsible for specific traits such as color, shape, or size. Genes come in pairs, and each plant inherits one gene from each parent. When the plants reproduce, the genes are separated so that each offspring receives one copy from each parent. It's like flipping a coin. If you flip it once, you have a 50% chance of getting heads or tails. But if you flip it twice, the chance of getting two heads in a row is only 25%. Mendel also noticed that some traits are dominant while others are recessive. For example, the allele for purple flower color is dominant over the allele for white flower color. This means that if a plant inherits one purple allele and one white allele, the flowers will be purple because the purple trait is dominant. Mendel's laws explained how traits are transmitted from one generation to the next, but he had no idea what genes were physically or how they functioned. It was NT until 1869 that a Swiss biochemist named Friedrich Meiser discovered a strange substance in the nuclei of white blood cells. He called it nuclein, which was later renamed to nucleic acid. Little did he know that this substance contained the secret of life. More than 50 years passed before scientists uncovered the structure of DNA. During this time, many scientists made significant contributions to the study of genetics. Thomas Hunt Morgan, for example, demonstrated that genes are located on chromosomes. And Alfred Sturtevant created the first genetic map. But the biggest breakthrough came in 1953 when James Watson and Francis Crick published their groundbreaking paper describing the double helix structure of DNA. They discovered that the genetic code is stored in the sequence of nucleotides in DNA, and this discovery paved the way for understanding how genetic information is stored, copied, and transmitted. With the discovery of the structure of DNA, scientists finally knew what the book of life looked like, but they didn't know how to read it. They knew that genes were segments of DNA, but they didn't know how DNA was organized into genes, or how genes were expressed. This question was answered in 1961. Scientists deciphered the genetic code, revealing the relationship between the sequence of nucleotides in DNA and the sequence of amino acids in a protein. The genetic code consists of codons, groups of 3 nucleotides that correspond to a specific amino acid. One codon specifies the start of the gene, and other codons signal the end. With this knowledge, scientists could finally begin to understand how genetic information is translated into cellular function. But even after decoding the genetic code, scientists still had many questions. How does DNA replicate? How is it repaired when it's damaged? And how is it regulated? These questions were answered in the following decades, and scientists uncovered the complex mechanisms that govern gene expression. They learned that DNA replication is carried out by a variety of enzymes that unwind the double helix, copy each strand, and then wind the 2 new strands together. They also learned that DNA is constantly being monitored for errors, and if errors are detected, they are repaired. Finally, they learned that gene expression is tightly regulated, ensuring that the right proteins are produced in the right amounts at the right times. Today, our understanding of genetics is constantly expanding. Scientists are using new tools to edit genes and correct genetic defects. They are also using genetic information to diagnose diseases and develop new treatments. But despite all the progress we've made, we still have a lot to learn about the genetic code. There are still many unanswered questions, and new discoveries are being made all the time. Who knows what other secrets the Book of Life will reveal in the future? Perhaps we'll learn how to cure currently incurable diseases. Or perhaps we'll discover new forms of life that we never knew existed. One thing is for sure, though, the more we learn about genetics, the more we learn about ourselves. We have come a long way in understanding the genetic code, but there is still much more to discover. The Human Genome Project, which was launched in 1990, aimed to map the entire human genome. This was a huge undertaking that involved sequencing over 3 billion base pairs of DNA. The project was completed in 2003, and it revealed the vast complexity of the human genome. Since then, scientists have been able to identify genes associated with various diseases. And they have developed new diagnostic tools and therapies based on this knowledge. Today, scientists are using new technologies to edit genes with unprecedented precision. CRISPR-Cas9, for example, is a revolutionary gene editing tool that allows scientists to modify DNA sequences with high accuracy. This tool has opened up new possibilities for treating genetic disorders and for studying the functions of individual genes. As we continue to explore the genetic code, we are sure to make even more exciting discoveries. Perhaps we will learn how to prevent diseases that are currently incurable, or perhaps we will discover new forms of life that we never knew existed. One thing is for sure, though: the more we learn about genetics, the more we learn about ourselves. So take a moment to appreciate the incredible complexity and beauty of the genetic code. It is truly the blueprint of life, and it is what makes each of us unique. Well, that's all for now. Thanks for watching. And if you want to learn more about genetics, you can watch more videos on our channel.